But we're going to be in the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke 19. You don't have your Bible, you try and figure out where it says. It'll be on the screen. Luke 19. Read the first 7 verses from the English Standard Version, Luke 19, 1 through 7. And it reads, He entered Jericho and was passing through. He, as in Jesus, entered Jericho and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. He was too short to see over the crowd. So verse 4, so he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, bro, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and received Jesus joyfully. And when they, someone say they, when they, as in the crowd, saw it, they all grumbled. He has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. Now, the verse that really made me fall in love with this text and the verse that we're going to use today as our sermon, can you go back to verse 4? Go back to verse 4. So he ran, someone say ran. He ran on ahead and climbed, say climbed, up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. What made me fall in love was that verse, because that verse alone showed by any means necessary. And that's a subject for today, by any means necessary. By any means necessary, Zacchaeus was determined to be successful in seeing who Jesus was. He was determined. He said, I'm going to do whatever is needed to succeed. I'm going to do whatever is needed to position myself to receive what I'm trying to see. By any means necessary, his drive, his will, his tenacity, his determination, he was willing to do what was needed. If he had to run, he was going to run. If he had to climb, he was going to climb. He was determined to not let his shortcomings stop him. He was determined to not let his short stature stop him, because he was determined by any means necessary. And I believe there's some people in this room and online with an attitude like Zacchaeus. By any means necessary, you're going to do whatever it takes to position yourself for success. You're going to do whatever it takes to position yourself to receive favor, to receive a healing, to receive a miracle. You're not going to let people stop you. You're not going to let your haters stop you. You're not going to let your environment stop you. You're not going to let your insecurity stop you. You're going to do all that is needed to do to be successful in what your heart is desiring to do. By any means necessary. By any means necessary. If you had to shout, you was going to shout. The blind beggar shouted for Jesus. They told him to shut up. He kept on shouting, by any means necessary. If you got to push your way through the crowd and snatch your blessing like the lady with the issue of blood, you're going to do it. By any means necessary. If you got to shout, you're going to shout. If you got to snatch, you're going to snatch. If you got to be like Zacchaeus and run and climb, you're going to climb. Bad knees and all, you're going to climb. Arthritis and all, you're going to climb. No health insurance and all, you're going to do some climbing, because you like, by any means necessary, I'm going to receive this. Now, do y'all receive that? I'm going to receive this. I'm going to do what I got to do. Be like Naaman. If you got to dip yourself in the Jordan River, you're going to do some dipping, baby. Because you're going to do what you have to do to position yourself for success, position yourself to receive all that God has for you. Do what you got to do. Type in the chat, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Sometimes you just have to do what you got to do. Now, as a kid growing up, a lot of times kids judge their parents on the decisions they make, not knowing that at that time, parents were just doing what they had to do to be successful, doing whatever they had to do to put food on the table, doing whatever they had to do to keep a roof over their head. They just doing what they have to do. I remember my mom used to have this phrase, rob Peter to pay Paul. She told me that a lot. Basically saying, I got to do what I got to do to make sure my boys are good. And that's what it comes, doing what you have to do by any means necessary. You're going to do what you have to do to raise your kids. You're going to do what you have to do to make sure they well. Do what you have to do to be effective as a parent. Do what you have to do by any means necessary. And Zacchaeus did what he had to do to be successful in what he was wanting to do, what his heart was desiring to do. Yesterday, one of my favorite gospel songs came on, Put a Praise on It. I love that song by Tasha. That song gets me going. That song gets me ready for like a spiritual warfare, a spiritual battle. You be ready to fight, don't you? There's a miracle in this room with your name on it, a healing with your name on it. I'm like, this is my song. Like, it gets me going, ready to punch the enemy in the face. And it's like, it's like, to me, it's the knuck if you buck of gospel songs. Like, I've never been in a physical altercation before, but when that song comes on, it sounds kind of fun. Like, I'll give this a try. But it's something about that song that really gets you going, and it's like the same way when you think about Put a Praise on it, and it sounds good. You just sing, you walking around, there's a miracle with my name on it, a healing with my name on it, a breakthrough with my name on it. But here's the thing, although your name is on it, are you in position to receive it? Your name can be on it all you want, but are you in position to receive it? Zacchaeus was in position because Jesus knew his name. When he saw him in a tree, Zacchaeus, come on down. He knew his name, but Zacchaeus still had to be in position. Being in position is important. Being in position is important. He wasn't going to let this moment pass him by. So he ran and climbed and got in position. He didn't want to get caught out of position. See, a lot of times we pray for things, pray for blessings, pray for what we want God to do for us, but then we don't get in position. And we get caught slipping, get caught out of position. It's like you've been praying to God for a job, and then you haven't been preparing for it, and then a job opportunity come that day, you're not ready. You're like, oh, snaps, if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. If you was in position, you would have been ready. But positioning yourself is important. It's extremely important because I tell people all the time, you don't know what opportunities you can miss if you're not in position. You don't know what opportunities you can get if you position yourself in the right environment. In the right environment is critical, and the right environment is crucial. Zacchaeus got the opportunity to be seen by Jesus by positioning himself in the right environment. He was too short to see over the crowd, so he's like, I'm going to get to climbing so Jesus can see me. And you have to think about people in the Bible that position themselves, and because they position themselves in the right position, in the right environment, they received a blessing. The woman with the issue of blood positioned herself in the right environment. Ruth positioned herself in the field of Boaz and received something great, received a breakthrough. I tell people all the time, you get in the right room, you never know what can happen. Get in the right room. A lot of times I just pray to God that just get me in a room. That's all I need. I just want to be in the room, because when you're in the room around something great, you're exposed to something great. And one thing about exposure, once you're exposed to something, you can't be unexposed. That's right. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So once you see better, you're going to want better because you've seen better. Once you see greater, you're going to want greater for yourself because you've seen it. So getting in the right room is important. A lot of times when I was back in Kansas City, when I was a young comic, I was determined. I got a lot of opportunities because I was in the right room. I just positioned myself in the right room. I didn't have to be on a show. I just wanted to be there just in case. And some opportunities happen just in case somebody don't show up. Who's here? I got 5 minutes to spare. Being in the right room, being in position. Being in position is important because not only being in a position, the right environment can bless you, but being in a position shows your readiness. Shows that you're ready. Being in position shows that you're ready. You ever been to a play or been in a play and you hear the director, before the scene starts, everybody take their position. Everybody get in their position so that when this scene starts, we're all prepared. For those of you in-house, before the stream started, the choir got in position. Because being in position shows that you're prepared. That's right. Being in position, you hear it a lot in sports. Coaches tell players all the time, get in position. So you can be ready. For when the opportunity comes, you're ready. You're not trying to get in position when the play has already started. Right. You're already in position. Being in position shows that you're ready. So when you get in position, you're telling God, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to receive what you have for me. I'm ready. If you're ready, say, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Because when we're in position, we prepared. And I don't know about you, but I'm prepared for whatever God has for me. And we should be prepared for whatever God has for us. You praying for it, but are you prepared for it? I'm ready. I'm ready for God to do a new thing in my life. I'm ready. You want a new thing. You prepared for the new thing? Some of y'all praying for marriage. Are you prepared for marriage? Some of y'all praying for a better job. Are you prepared for a better job? You still late. You praying for a turnaround. You want your kid to turn around. You want your finances to turn around. Are you ready for that to happen? Are you ready? If you're ready for God to do a new thing in your life, say, I'm ready. Type in a chat, I'm ready. I'm prepared for what God has for me. I'm prepared. And are you prepared? Are you in position? Are you in position to receive what you've been praying for? Yes. Are you in position? But here's the thing about being ready. We also have to have the mindset and the heart and the faith like the Hebrew men did when facing the fiery furnace. They said, our God will step in, but even if he doesn't, even if he doesn't, we still gonna rock with him. We still gonna rock with him. And so some of us say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And a lot of us are growing weary. A lot of us have been discouraged because we've been ready for a while. And we need to have that mindset like, God, I'm ready. But if it's in your will to not give it to me in this season of my life, I'm cool with it. And I'm still ready. I'm going to stay ready. And a lot of us, I just want to encourage you to stay ready. I know you've been growing stressed out and growing weary because you've been ready, you've been preparing for what God has for you, and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm here to tell you to stay ready. Because like I said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And we don't know. You don't know when that time Jesus is going to move on that situation. So if you stay ready, it's showing God, look, I'm just sitting here waiting. I'm sitting here prepared for whenever you do it, I'm going to walk right in when you open that door. I'm going to walk right on in when you open that door for me. I know I've been praying. I've been waiting for it for a month. I've been waiting for it for some, we impatient now. I've been waiting for a day, God. Now, I'm trying to hold on, but it's been 24 hours. Shoot, Prime would have been here by now. And a lot of us get discouraged because there's some stuff I've been praying for and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm like, God, I'm gonna stay ready because I don't know when you're gonna walk on in. I don't know when you're gonna start strolling in my situation, want to turn some things around. You don't know when God just gonna decide, okay, this is it, because you've been faithful to me. I was just testing you, just testing to see will you still rock with me if I don't give you what you want at this moment. And are you willing to still rock with God if he does not give you what you've been praying for right at this moment? What's your reaction? Or are you going to get out of position and just be like, I'm done. It ain't never coming. God not trying to hear me out. God not trying to do this for me, so I'm gone. Hands up, you get out of position. But then when it happened, you like, oh, snap, missed out. Zacchaeus was moving fast. He ran ahead because guess what? He didn't want Jesus to pass on by. So he got to moving. Brother got to moving. He's short, just running. Short, just running, trying to get ahead. They say he ran ahead to where Jesus was going to be and climbed up on the tree. So Zacchaeus was ready. He was determined by any means necessary to seek Jesus, by any means necessary to do what he had to do to position himself for favor. But all this talk sounds good. Position yourself, position yourself, position yourself, position yourself. But let's be honest. A lot of us don't position ourselves to receive. That's right. Let's be honest. Sometimes it's difficult to position ourselves to receive. And there's blockers. There are things we have to overcome if we want to position ourselves to receive. If you want to have a spirit, a mindset by any means necessary, you're going to have to overcome some things to make it happen. And in this text, I see 3 things that we must overcome if you want to have that spirit, that mindset of by any means necessary, I want to position myself to receive. And the first thing I saw was that we have to overcome the spirit of laziness. We have to overcome the spirit of laziness. Got quiet. Because, man, especially in 2022, like people do not want to work. People do not want to work. I was on a call with a client, and he was like, man, we have to go through a temp agency because nobody trying to work. He said, we have been struggling to hire. And he said, I'm stretched thin. I got pulled to other teams. We can't find no replacement. Nobody want to work, Nick. I said, I feel you, brother. I feel you. But we have to overcome the spirit of laziness. Zacchaeus ran ahead and climbed a tree. He ran and climbed. Ran and climbed, ran and climbed. Ran and climb are verbs. Not just any verbs, they're action verbs. So before Zacchaeus was able to receive Jesus, he had to take action. Before he was able to receive what God has for him, receive what his heart desired, it was some action he had to do. He had to put in some work. Brother had to run and climb. He just didn't float. That would have been trippy if he but he didn't float. He had to run and climb. He had to take action. And the reason why people do not get in position to receive is because they don't want to put in the work to get in position. They don't want to do the necessary things that need to be done to be in position. They don't want to put in the work. You know, and I said this last week in my message, God and laziness don't mix. God and laziness do not mix. Your breakthrough requires your participation. God will always leave room for something for you to do. Not just going to do everything for you. You got to do something. You have to do something. You don't want to do nothing. And you expecting a big harvest, but you don't want to sow. But you're expecting God wants you to do a big old thing in my life. I know a lot of us, some of our favorite songs is Pastor Mike Jr.'s song, Everything is Going to Be Big. And we want that, but we don't want to put in the work for big. We don't want to put in the work. You can't say by any means necessary and then you just sit on your butt. And be like, look, God, by any means necessary, I'm gonna get this job, but you just chilling. Work is important. Work is important. Work is required. The Bible says even faith without works is dead. So in order for your faith to work, you need work. So you need some type of work. It requires you to take action. It requires you to do something. Something. And people don't want to put in the work. One of my favorite quotes is by Kevin Hart. Everybody want to be famous, but don't nobody want to put in the work. A lot of people envy the status yet, but they don't want to put in the work that I put in to get on this level. And we envy people that, especially if you're going down a career path, you look at people doing it at a higher level than you, and you envy them like, man, I wish I was on that level, but you don't see all the work they did. Some people don't show off on social media all their work. They're just going to show you the final product. Because if you saw the work, you was going to get discouraged. I remember when I was working at the YMCA, I was talking to the kids. They was like telling me all they want to do, and man, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then I start showing them like YouTube video of people working out the process and all that stuff. They said, that seems like too much. I said, well, that's what's needed. You want to be a D1 athlete? That's what's needed. You need to put in that work. 6 a.m. workouts? Yeah. Yeah, work out 3 times a day? Yes. Yes, you need to put in the work, but what are you doing to position yourself? What are you doing to position yourself to receive what you're praying for? Think about what you've been praying to God for. And ask yourself, what have I been doing? What have I been doing to prepare for this blessing that I've been praying for? And a lot of times we think about our relationship with God and we're like, what God has for me, it is for me, thinking that that's like a hall pass for not putting in work. But it's not a hall pass. You still need to put in work. What God has for you, it is for you. Your name is on it, but you need to position yourself to get it, to position yourself to receive it. All because Jesus knows you. People are like, and Jesus knows my heart, knows my desires, know what I want. Yeah, but he know you lazy too. He know you lazy. Just sitting on, and Jesus know I really want this. He know you ain't gonna do nothing for it either. Just been sitting there. There's always something for you to do. Always something for you to do. Like this text takes place when Jesus is entering Jericho. So this is the same Jericho where God had the walls fall down in the Old Testament. In Joshua, the entire story, God had the walls of Jericho fall down. But before he had the walls fall down, Joshua and his men had to do some work. They had some stuff to do. A lot of us just want the walls to fall down, just want to experience the breakthrough, but there's work required for that breakthrough. God took them through a process. If we go to Joshua chapter 6, I'm going to read. Now the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one came in, no one came out. It was a fortified. And then the Lord said to Joshua, I have delivered Jericho into your hands. Then he said, here's the process. Here's what they had to do in order for the walls to fall down. March around the city once with all your men. Do it for 6 days. 6 days? 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in the front of the ark. And on the 7th day, march around the city 7 times. All right, 6 days I got to march. And then on the 7th day, walk around 7 more times. And with the priests blowing the trumpets, and when you hear them sound a long blast of the trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout. And then here's the word right there. Have the army give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse and the army will go up, everyone straight up in it. Then the breakthrough will happen. Then after you go through the process and do what's required for you to do and put in the work, then it's going to happen. See, we don't look at that part. We look at everything after the then. We don't see all the parts that it takes leading up to the then, because the process is important. Process eliminates people. Process eliminates people. Some of us, if we was like Zacchaeus, I gotta run. How far? How far I gotta run? It's too hot. I gotta climb a tree. I ain't climbed a tree since I was a kid. You want me to climb a tree too? So the process would eliminate some people. The process will eliminate people. I remember playing. I grew up playing sports, and one sport I only played 1 year. I just couldn't do it was football. Man, football, the process for football is different than basketball and baseball. Football is a whole nother level. And I remember if you talk to my mom and my dad, they love sharing this story. But I remember I tried out for football twice when I was a kid. But man, them practices, I quit. Nope. No, I'm good. I quit twice, and I said, I'll stick to baseball and basketball. But the process took me out. The process will sift people out, sift the weak from the strong. I have to admit, I was the weak one. I was like, this is not for me. We didn't even do contact yet. It was just bear crawls. I said, no, I can't handle this. The grass is itchy. I don't got to do this in basketball. But the process eliminates people. And God will have you go through a process to eliminate. If you really want this, you should go for it. Do you want it or do you want it? Like a lot of people, it sounds good coming out our mouth, I want this. And God's saying, do you really want it? Are you willing to, by any means necessary, position yourself to receive it? The process will sift out the weak from the strong. And Zacchaeus went through a process to see Jesus. He ran and climbed a tree. And how many of you are willing to do what Zacchaeus did? How many are willing to run and climb a tree metaphorically to receive what God has for you? How many of us are willing to do that? Online, how many of you are willing to do that? People like, my knees ain't built the same. You know, the older you get, the more cautious you get on your physical activity. Like, I don't know if y'all remember a sermon last year or probably the year before when Bishop climbed over pews. Like, I think you about to be 79 now. I want to see that again. You should have saw everybody was nervous and cautious. I think Minister Fields at the time had 911 ready. Like, what's going on? What Bishop up to? I said, oh, Lord, I'm going to have to step in. I was ready. I was in the right place at the right time. I was in position just in case. But you have to be more cautious. But we have to overcome the spirit of laziness. The other thing we have to overcome to position ourselves to receive favor, receive all that God has for us, is to overcome limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are just lies that you tell yourself that limits your ability. That's all limiting beliefs are. And if you think about it, Zacchaeus had to overcome the fact that he was short. He was short stature. He didn't give up because he couldn't see over the crowd. He just like, okay, I got to pivot. See, a lot of us have areas, and see, this man was rich, but he was short. We all have areas in our life that we're rich in, and areas in our life where we just come short. We just fall short. You know, that's just us. That's humans. Everybody got strengths and weaknesses. What you rich in, I may be poor in. What you're poor in, I might be rich in. So he was rich. He was richer than everybody else, but he was shorter than everybody else. And he couldn't see over the crowd, so he had to overcome that belief that I'm too short to see, so I'm just going to have to miss out on this opportunity. I know what I want. I know what my heart desire. I know what I want to see, but I'm too short. And a lot of us become victims and we submit ourselves to our limiting beliefs. Because we like, I have a disadvantage in this area. And because I have a disadvantage in this area, I'm not going to go forward in it. I'm too short to do what God is asking me to do. I'm too short. I'm not that smart to receive this. But God made you that way. God wired you. You can't control your height. Zacchaeus couldn't control his height, but he was wired that way. And so all he had to do was pivot. He just had to work with his disadvantage. It's something about having a disadvantage that should give you hunger. Something about having a disadvantage should give you the drive. Think about all your favorite artists that you kind of like but you don't like now. You liked them much better when they were unnamed. You liked them much better when they didn't have a deal. You liked them much better when they were underground. They had drive, they had hunger, they had that tenacity. They were like, by any means necessary, I'm going to be successful at this. And we have to have that drive. Something about being the underdog should give you that hunger. Like a lot of the NCAA tournament, prime example happening right now. So many underdogs are winning. So many brackets was busted after the first day. Underdogs were just taking over the lower seed. The underdogs, the ones that had the disadvantage, are just taking over because that can give you the drive. That tenacity. One of my favorite athletes of all time, Allen Iverson. People talk about him all the time. So short. 5'11", 6 feet, they say like 170. Battling against Kobe and Shaq. But his heart, that drive, that tenacity, that will, by any means necessary, nobody gonna stop me. And we need to have that when it comes to what we want. Have that for what we've been praying for. What we've been praying for God to bless us with. Position ourselves to receive it. Overcome those limiting beliefs. Because that's just the enemy talking to you. Because some of us feel like we're not qualified for what God has for us. That's a limiting belief. And we should not let our disadvantages discourage us. They should motivate us. Knowing that God can use our disadvantages. God can turn those around. And yes, Zacchaeus had a disadvantage, but guess what? Jesus still saw him. That's right. Yes. He had a disadvantage, but that just allowed him to pivot. Because I bet you if he was tall enough, he wouldn't stand out. If he was tall enough to see over the crowd, we wouldn't be reading. What stood out about Zacchaeus was that he ran and climbed into a tree. He wouldn't have to run and climb into a tree if he was taller than everybody else and can see. And so a lot of times your disadvantage is making up your testimony. Your testimony is all wrapped up in your disadvantage. Areas you fall short in, you've been successful in. And I just know that was all God. That was just all God. That was all God. I know this was not me. Because by nature, this isn't me. By nature, like growing up, by nature, public speaking was not my thing. But I know this was all God. If it was up to me, I wouldn't be doing this. But I wanted to be used by God. And God will turn your disadvantages around for his glory. And all that can be a part of your testimony. All that can be a part of your story. By any means necessary. And the last thing I see, didn't really know how to name this point, but pretty much we have to overcome caring what others think. And I say that because Zacchaeus was not a well-liked man. They didn't like him. They couldn't stand him. Yes, he was a thief. He was the chief tax collector. Not just a regular tax collector. He was the big dog. And of course, back then, it wasn't the fact that they just didn't like taxes. They felt like he was the chief tax collector. He was the one on top. He was a thief because back then you had tax farming, charging people more so you can profit off of it. And so that's why the Bible says he was the chief tax collector and he was rich. He was rich. He's getting rich off other people's money. And so that's why people didn't like him. That's why people condemned. That's why when at the end of the text when Jesus said, "Hey, I'm staying with you," they were like, they grumbled. Why him? A sinner? They call him a sinner because he was a thief. But Zacchaeus, so I'm sure Zacchaeus felt all that. I'm sure if social media was around, he saw those tweets. He saw those memes. And he was like, look, this not going to stop me from seeing Jesus. This not going to stop me from seeking Jesus. This not going to stop me from being in position to receive what I desire. We have to overcome what others think. Basically, because think about it. Zacchaeus ran and climbed in a tree. I'm pretty sure at that time he looked stupid. And a lot of times, position ourselves might mean we look kind of stupid. It doesn't make sense. Like, why are they doing this? I'm positioning myself. And that's why Zacchaeus said, why this brother just running? And he running ahead, he climbing a tree. This dude, look, what is he up to? And a lot of times we don't step out because we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to step out because we don't want to stand out. We don't want to be that sore thumb. We don't want to be that one that everybody looking and say, what they doing? What they up to? And we just caring about, how do I look if I do this? If I step out, how do I look? What will others think of me? And we can get caught up on what other people think. I mentioned a story early in this sermon about the blind beggar when he shouted for Jesus. I'm pretty sure he looked stupid to people. I'm pretty sure they didn't understand what he was doing. They told him to be quiet, hush, chill, bro. They told him to do all that stuff, and he kept shouting Jesus. But that's by any means necessary. He overcame what other people thought about him in that moment. Because if he cared what others think, he wouldn't be shouting. But he didn't care. He just wanted to receive something. Jesus was around. Jesus was passing on. See, they didn't want Jesus to pass them up. And got Jesus' attention. And Zacchaeus got Jesus' attention. Although he looked pretty weird, running and climbing into a tree when everybody else is just on the ground looking. And people may not understand why you doing what you're doing, and you like, I'm just getting in position. They're like, why are you acting funny now? I'm just getting in position for something better. Why are you not returning my calls now? I'm positioning myself for something better. Why are you not sliding through no more? I'm just positioning myself for something better. I know we used to do this, but I'm going to just chill for a minute because I'm positioning myself to receive something better. And people are like, why are you trying to go back to school? Because I'm positioning myself for something better. In order to position myself for something better, this is required. People don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. People are like, why are you starting to tithe? I'm positioning myself for something better. I see that a lot. Man, people, I don't know about y'all, people stay like arguing with me. Why are you doing all that stuff? They just getting rich off you. Who getting rich? Look around, who's getting rich? But you just conditioned. I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. Who getting rich? But a lot of people just want to talk. People just want something to talk about. And one thing about with the rise of internet, the rise of social media, everybody's a commentator. Everybody's a journalist. Everybody's a reporter. And they just need something to report back to their followers. And so they just going to say anything. And you have to understand that people just going, no matter what you do, people going to talk. So you might as well get in position to receive something better. Let them talk. Let them ridicule you. Let them laugh. But while they laughing, you position yourself for something better. They can talk about you all they want, but you positioning yourself for something better. We need to overcome things to position ourselves for something better. If we want to, by any means necessary. By any means necessary, I'm willing to overcome my laziness. By any means necessary, I'm willing to overcome limiting beliefs. By any means necessary, I'm willing to overcome the possibility of looking weird, looking strange, stepping out and positioning myself for what God is giving me. By any means necessary, Zacchaeus positioned himself in a tree. And I want to ask you as I close, what's your tree? What do you have to climb metaphorically to receive better? What do you have to climb? What's your tree? Some of us, you've been struggling, wrestling with the idea, should I go back to school or not? But if you want better, and that better is requiring you to go back to school, position yourself. What does your tree look like? Your tree. You in school. You struggling with classes. Your tree might be tutoring. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. I went to tutoring. I consider myself a very smart individual. But some stuff, you just fall short in. I'm like, brother needs some extra help. An extra set of eyes or something. I don't know what's going on. But had to climb that tree to position myself for something better. I wanted that desired grade. I had to position myself in that classroom. Extra classes. What is your tree looking like? Some of y'all like, hey, my tree, I got a celibate. Uh-oh. Let's be honest. Some of I've been wrestling with there. I want better for myself. That might be your tree. In marriage, like, hey, I want to turn my marriage around. Your tree, counseling. Going to have to climb that tree and go to counseling so that we can receive better as a married couple. Position yourself to receive, no matter what your tree is, by any means necessary, climb it so you can be in position to receive what God has for you. Position yourself. And I pray that this word helped you. I pray that this word blessed you like it blessed me.